Well, I was not expecting to make this video today, but lo and behold, Bob the Tomato and Larry the Cucumber are back. Except they're not Bob and Larry, they're Phil and Mike, the creators and voice actors of the characters. And they're not vegetables, they're not playing vegetables, they're themselves. So yeah, this is just a very off the cuff vlog. As you can see, I'm still kind of tinkering with voice settings and stuff because this is just an initial reaction video. I originally wanted to get my Madame Blueberry review out tomorrow, which just to give you a quick update on that, script is done. Visuals as of this weekend are done, meaning that all I have to do is record, which given the fact that the video is going to be about 25 minutes long, that's not going to be a fun recording session. And then, of course, video, audio editing, and then the video should come out. I could power through that quickly. It will take a toll on my voice. My voice already hurts right now, and I've only been talking for, what, a minute? So, yeah, that should be out for next week. But for this week, let's talk about this new show. So, in case you don't know, Phil Vischer just launched a new YouTube channel, or at least I think it's new. He just posted his first video to it, called the Phil and Mike Show. What it is, it's about 5 minutes long, and it features Phil and Mike as cartoon versions of themselves, although Phil doesn't look like how I thought he would look. I don't know. Like I said, these thoughts are going to be very off the cuff. Um, but Phil and Mike, and you can tell that their voices have been, if they haven't been pitch shifted, they certainly sound very much like they're trying to emulate the old voices of Bob and Larry. And then we're introduced to Stanley, who played, the voice. Well, it's Phil's voice, but it was the voice he did for Paw Grape. And there it's revealed that apparently VeggieTales was them putting on Phil, Mike, and Stanley putting on costumes with no arms and legs. They were dressing up as veggies. It wasn't. I don't know. I wonder if this is part of the concept for the Bob and Larry movie that we never got to see. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. But anyways, they're basically like, hey, we had a lot of fun making these shows. We want to do something new. But then Bob. See, I'm gonna struggle to not call Phil Bob because I associate his cartoon character with Bob. So what Bob See, I did it again. What Phil gets a message from Marcy, someone who worked with Phil on one of his other shows, apparently. I'm not entirely sure which show. And basically saying, hey, we need a show with more energy. And then, they bring in Lewis to spout data figures because apparently data figures are all the rage these days. I should know. My role is, even though it's technically not my official title, I was brought on to my current job to be a data analyst, so I know how important data is these days. So Lewis, which by the way, I do want to mention Lewis. So the voice of Lewis is also done by Phil. I think Phil did all of the voices in this initial pitch, I guess I would call it, except for Mike, of course, played by Mike. But um, Lewis is black. He's portrayed as black in the video. That's fine. Obviously, I don't have a problem with that at all. Representation is, good. There are more than enough people that look like me. I'm sure you've heard that from other creators. I just want to get that out there so nobody gets offended. But I found it a little weird that he was black, but he was clearly voiced by a white person. Um, Interesting because the whole thing with uh, the VeggieTales after it was acquired by DreamWorks is that Mr. Nezer, someone who obviously wasn't black, he's a zucchini, but was based on an African American stereotype. Um, I think I brought this up in one of my past discussion videos. I think it was my VeggieTales is racist video. I remember that now. Of course, and since Phil wasn't African American, he couldn't voice someone an African American stereotype. And Lewis wasn't trying to be a stereotype, but he was black and voiced by a white person. It just struck me as weird. I don't know if it's I don't want to say it's bad. It just struck me as weird. So he comes in and says, how do we get more energy? And then we get some lines from uh, Stanley, and with ultimately how Seymour. Let's see, I called him Seymour because I'm associating him with the Star of Christmas. I don't and Easter. I don't know why. See, it's like I gotta take these veggie names out of my head and bring them onto these new characters. So Stanley is basically saying, "Hey, can I eat a donut and bring energy?" And that's not gonna work. Donuts, sprinkles, cat videos. That's his whole ordeal, and it was actually pretty funny. I laughed at that. Um, so ultimately, what happens is, Marcy is like, we need, uh, we need like lights and music, and we need all traditional showmaking stuff. And Phil's like, we don't have the money for that. And then the next bit with Stanley and Phil had me laughing pretty hard as someone who's read all of Phil's blog and read his me, myself, and Bob. I thought the next response was really truly great. So and then they said that there is, Marcy's like, hey, there's a public access television set that hasn't been used in a while that we can use, which we'll come back to that later. And then basically they're like, hey, they realize, hey, we can do this with a little help from some friends, including Michael and who is apparently from another one Phil shows I don't remember. And then there's Dorothy, the Sunday school teacher, who I do remember from what I've seen of What's in the Bible with Buck Denver. There's a running gag about Mike being busy that I thought was pretty funny. Um, yeah, and that's the thing. You can definitely tell. I mean, even aside from the voices, this definitely has the VeggieTales chops. This definitely has Phil's touch to it that I genuinely appreciate. So, anyways, that's about the first 3.5 minutes is them ultimately pitching the show, and then the next bit is the introduction song. The theme song for the show, and then they bring up the set, which I mean, maybe this is either super obvious or super not obvious, depending on what you think of the trailer. I'm going to have it linked in the description. I highly recommend that you all go watch it. But the set very much looked like it was supposed to be evocative of the set from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Is that incredibly obvious? Is that something I'm pulling out of my butt? I'm not entirely sure. Please tell me about that. So they sing the song for the Phil and Mike show. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the name. I like naming the show after the host seems a little odd. But then again, if you read Me, Myself, and Bob, that was actually what Phil originally wanted to do was make a show called the Phil and Mike Show. Wanted to make it like a more not a cartoon, of course, more of a talk show. Uh, but I believe he was pitched through the David C. Cook Company, through his mother. I'm not entirely sure how the details were, but basically, Phil didn't get his David Letterman style show because, he still wanted to make it for teenagers, and ultimately, they were like, teenagers aren't, going to buy all that stuff. You got to appeal to younger audience, you got to appeal to kids, and, ultimately, VeggieTales sprung from that, and the rest is a history, a very long story in history that was interesting to me, but anyways, so we get that. We get the opening music number, and yeah, it's catchy. It's one of those songs where like the main chorus of the song. It reminds me of Baby Shark. Oh, I can't believe I actually just mentioned Baby Shark, but I think I watched Baby Shark once. And for the main takeaway was I listened to that song only one time, and I'm never gonna forget it. Like a lot of songs that I hear, I'm gonna need to hear them like several times before I like get the main like melody and beats into my memory. But for Baby Shark, that was one of the songs where it's like first time I heard it, I'm never going to forget it. It's so simple. It's so stupidly effective for its target demographic. Um, yeah, and ultimately, the Phil and Mike theme song is similar in vein, but it's much better. The Baby Shark. Just watching that, just cynicism. That's all I can really describe the feeling of this. Phil and Mike show brings me optimism. Um, and yeah, and ultimately, I'm cautiously optimistic for this. I can't say, the animation style didn't grab me at first, but the more I watch it, the more I think I can it can grow on me. It's clearly meant to be very simple. This is supposed to be a more limited in-house production, which I don't have a problem with. In case I haven't made it clear from my content and from my review of Me, Myself, and Bob, which you should also go check out. Shameless plug. I'm just happy to see whatever Phil puts out that's reminiscent of, because not, I say everything he puts out, because not everything is going to be for me. Like he has a streaming service with a bunch of stuff that doesn't really appeal to me. But like the videos he made on Holy Post, he had the viral video back in 2020, and I haven't checked into Holy Post in a while, but from what I've seen, I did a cursory glance before recording this video, and I saw he made like another video on how old is the universe actually? Is it really 6,000 years? I haven't really had time to watch much of it. Again, just going right into the recording of this video, but it looks. I'm happy to see it, and I'm happy to see him continue with this. Although I should say, ultimately the video just it's the pitch, it's the theme song, and then it's a copyright logo at the end, and there really isn't any information beyond that. You're gonna have to go digging for the other information. Well, not digging, obviously, because Twitter, I wouldn't say, or X. I'm not calling it X. I'm calling it Twitter. Deal with it. I wouldn't call that as like you have to go searching really hard, but it's not present on the YouTube video. Is what I'm trying to say. So if you go to Twitter, Phil has a thread basically saying, "Hey, um, this is this is not, it's not like this show is for certain. Apparently, I hope it certainly comes to fruition. I think that this has a lot of promise, but it's all up to Angel Studios now, which I guess is the background for all of this. In case you don't know, Angel Studios, they are the studio that they got their big hit with the Chosen from 20. Well, no, the pilot was 2017. I believe the show didn't really start airing in earnest until 2019. They had that. Of course, they had a huge surprise hit last year with Sound of Freedom in theaters. And they also put Chosen episodes in theaters and other films. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but they've done that. So yeah, this is part of Angel Studios, which actually, to be honest, something I've never actually told you guys is I've actually had I don't know if having the opportunity is the right word. I've been this close several times to actually meeting Phil in person. It hasn't happened. The last time it was supposed to happen was last month, where I was supposed to up with him, supposed to see him on a Sunday, and that didn't happen because, um, well, I should say that he wasn't there, but his mother. I got to meet his mother. I've met Phil Vischer's mother 3 times actually, but I haven't met Phil, which is really bizarre for me to say, but it is true. And on that day, I ended up seeing his mother. His mother made the announcement that the reason I couldn't see Phil that day was because he was in Provo, Utah, which is where Angel Studios is located, and he was, working on conceptualizing something with the studios that could be for kids, and it was very exciting. And apparently, this is the fruit of their labor or his labor, and I find that really exciting. I wish I could have been in person to talk to him about that. I was supposed to next the following weekend. I might have had the opportunity to see him as well, but that was the weekend I had salmonella. So yay, that's fun. Um, so yeah, apparently what happens now is that this is a pitch that is to be voted on if you are an Angel Studios Guild member. Because in case you don't know, and to be honest, I'm not super familiar with Angel Studios. Like, I haven't actually seen Sound of Freedom yet. I've heard amazing things about it, at least from my Christian friends, and even non-Christian friends. They admit that it's well made, even if it's not necessarily for them. But I haven't seen that yet. I haven't really seen either other films. And then uh, the Chosen. I should actually. that's a show that I've started watching. I should keep watching it because that, along with Arcane, are like probably up there as two of my all-time favorite TV shows. Um, but I ultimately stopped watching The Chosen after season one because season one was the only season that was available to binge. Well, I say binge, but I don't binge stuff. To available for me to watch and enjoy on Netflix. There have not been any other seasons on Netflix, at least last I checked. I know that they have the Chosen app, which I've downloaded the Chosen app where you can watch all of the episodes there for free, but it's hard because I like watching their stuff on a TV. And just obviously I can't, preferably through my Xbox One X. That's my streaming box of choice, and there's no Chosen app available for that. I'm sure. Obviously, I'll suck it up. I'd use it on my phone or my computer, or actually, I believe I have a Chromecast in which, assuming it has cast integration, I can cast the Chosen onto the TV and watch it on the big screen that way. Uh, but yeah, so ultimately, and the thing is, on the Chosen app, apparently it's a lot of stuff you can watch for free. Um, they had, Angel Studios is interesting in how it has a very unique crowd funding mechanic, which was kind of one of the reasons the Sound of Freedom story took off in the way it did. Well, that as well as ties to QAnon. I don't want to get into that. This sounds like garbage to me. But so they have content for free, but there's this thing called being a guild member, uh, which is a paid membership. I think it's $20 a month, um, 240 a year essentially, unless there might be some sort of deal for a yearly subscription. I don't entirely know. I just saw the $20 a month cost, and basically what being a guild member is, it allows you to pay it forward. The reason you pay for it so that others can experience it for free, which I personally appreciate. Sorry if this video is all over the place. I just like to. It's not often I make these kind of vlog videos, at least not yet. That might change in the future, but I want to get all my thoughts out here. Um, it being for free. If you want to pay for it to pay it forward, it makes sense from a business standpoint. But to have it be available for I free others, I really like that. It kind of reminds me of the I know this might sound weird, but in 2011, there was a bullying documentary that was released, a movie that I personally hate. It is my most hate. Well, okay, not my most hated movie of all time is God's Not Dead, which might sound weird as coming from a Christian, but that movie is all kinds of messed up. But what I think is objectively the worst film I've ever seen is that bullying documentary because it's so incredibly low, no effort that it's actually kind of embarrassing. Uh, but yeah, and then it was actually parodied in a South Park episode. I think it might have been like Butterballs. I don't know. I don't really watch South Park. But it was where I think it was like Kyle or Stan were making a video, and then Cartman was like, "Hey, if this is something everyone needs to see, why don't you just upload it, for free?" And to which there was no answer given for that. And I think that's the point of South Park satire. But yeah. Anyways, that's an incredibly roundabout way of me saying that that's what Angel Studios' model is. If you're a guild member, you can vote for this. If for whatever reason any guild members are voting for this, I would implore you just to please do so. I want to see more of this. Of course, take this as from someone who's a very, I don't want to say biased, but a big fan of his previous works, because I want to make that clear. Even though I did genuinely enjoy this pitch and I would recommend it, and again, I'll have it linked in the description for you all to watch, my excitement for this isn't necessarily because the pitch was just this greatest pitch that I've ever seen. It's because I want to see what Phil and Mike and everyone else who can come on board with this, what they can do with this. That's where my excitement is coming from for this. So if you're a guild member, please vote on this so that um ultimately, and I know it's selfish because I'm asking people to do this on my behalf because I'm not a guild member. I don't care. Look, I guess I shouldn't say please vote for this, just blindly. Watch it, and if it's something that you want to see, and you're ultimately mainly important because you're the ones financially invested in it. That sounds kind of weird and a little icky for me to say, but it's true. And if it's something that you think is worth your time and money, then I would definitely support that. Especially, if I would like to see more of this. That's what I'm trying to say. I enjoyed this pitch. That song is now living in my head rent free, and I just can't wait to see where this goes, if it goes anywhere. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Please let me know what you think down in the comments below. What did you think of the pitch? Um, would is this? What are your thoughts? Just give me your thoughts on Phil and his work. I don't know. I make these videos because I want community engagement. I want to make that very clear. I've done that since day one. Um, I made these videos because I want to hear what other people think. I don't make these videos for myself. Well, some videos I do enjoy watching by myself, but it's, yeah. I could ramble on forever, but I'm going to stop it right there. I will also mention the Q&A video that I promised back in January. I just haven't gotten enough questions yet. Please leave more questions, and I will try to do one when I believe I have a sufficient number of questions. I'll try to, I'll provide an update in the community tab when I feel like there's enough progress to warrant one. Um, and with that, I'm going to end it right here. Thank you all so much for watching. Uh, I was, wow, brain fart. Let me try that one more time. Thank you so much for watching. Click the red button to subscribe and have a fantastic rest of your day doing whatever. Brain fart at the end of my videos. What am I doing?